Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling Become an Elusive Object of Desire. It's part 5 of this awesome book we've been digging into about strategy, human nature, and power. Super excited to break it all down with you and see how we can actually apply these ideas.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. You know how we decide what's valuable and what makes us really want something. It's a deep dive into that and how we can use that to, our advantage.
And the author starts off with this really fascinating idea. It's almost counterintuitive. The easier something is to get, the less we actually want it, which doesn't really seem to make sense at first, right? Like, wouldn't we want things that are, easy to get?
Right. You'd think. But the book has this great historical example, the South Sea Bubble back in the 1720s.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty famous one.
Yeah. Back then, everyone was going crazy for this company's stock. It seemed like such easy money, and the frenzy just kept building and building until, boom, it all crashes down.
And that's the whole paradox of desire the book talks about, right? Easy access, it makes things seem less valuable, even if they seem irresistible at first. Like, have you ever experienced that yourself?
Oh, totally. Like a million times.
Same here. I've definitely lost interest in things once they were just too easy to get.
Yeah, that feeling of scarcity, when something's just out of reach, that's a huge driver of desire. And that's where Coco Chanel comes into the picture.
Oh, Coco Chanel,
Yeah.
the queen of chic. I'm ready for this.
Yeah, the book uses her as a prime example of someone who totally nailed this whole elusive object of desire thing.
Okay, so what made her so good at it?
Well, first, think about where she came from. I mean, she started with absolutely nothing, orphaned young, raised in poverty, but she created this aura of mystery around herself.
Interesting. So how did she do that?
Like, she almost never talked about her past, and she was super careful about when and where she appeared in public. And get this, she never, ever revealed the formula for her famous perfume.
Wow. So by holding back, by not revealing everything, she actually made herself more fascinating.
Exactly. It's super clever, right? It gave people space to imagine, to project their own desires onto her and her brand. It's like a blank canvas. The less detail you give, the more people can fill in those gaps with their own ideas.
That makes total sense. It's like
Yeah.
she understood the power of, I don't know, leaving something to the imagination. So how can we use that? Like in our own lives? I mean, most of us aren't fashion icons, right?
Right. It's not about being like secretive for the sake of it. It's more about being mindful of what you show to the world and what you keep to yourself.
Okay, so it's like intentional self-presentation.
Exactly. It's about crafting an image that intrigues people and makes them want to know more.
I like that. Okay, so what else does the book have to say about becoming an elusive object of desire?
Well, it goes deeper than just mystique. It gets into this other psychological principle, the allure of the forbidden. We're naturally drawn to things that are a bit transgressive, things
Hmm.
that push boundaries. And guess what? Coco Chanel totally got this too.
Oh, for sure. Didn't she completely shake things up in the fashion world?
Totally. Her designs had this masculine edge, like those tailored suits, simple lines, but they were still totally feminine.
I love those suits. So chic.
Right. It was this whole new kind of elegance, and it challenged, all those societal norms. And that's exactly what made it so appealing.
It's like she was giving women permission to break the rules, to express themselves in this new way. And by doing that, by pushing those boundaries, she created something truly unique, something desirable.
Exactly. That rebellious spirit, it totally resonated with people. Think about it. Aren't you ever drawn to things that are, a bit off limits?
Oh, yeah, for sure. All the time.
There's a reason that phrase, forbidden fruit, is such a powerful image.
Totally. There's something thrilling about breaking away from what's expected. It's like we're hardwired to be intrigued by things that are, I don't know, a little bit dangerous, a little bit taboo.
Exactly. And Chanel knew exactly how to tap into that instinct. But she also had this other trick up her sleeve, what the book calls the viral pull.
Viral pull. That sounds interesting. What's that all about?
Okay, so think about how things go viral online these days, right? It's all about word of mouth, people sharing organically, that feeling of, oh man, you have to see this. Chanel was a master at creating that kind of buzz, but in a really subtle way.
So she wasn't like blasting her brand on billboards or anything. So how did she create that pull?
She never directly promoted herself. It was all about letting other people spread the word, letting that desire build organically. She even, get this, encouraged piracy of her designs.
Wait, encouraging people to copy her work? That seems kind of crazy.
It might seem counterintuitive, but it actually amplified her visibility and allure. The more people saw her designs, even the knockoffs, the more they became part of the conversation.
So it's like she understood that familiarity breeds desire, even if it wasn't the official version. So the challenge for us is figuring out how to create that kind of buzz for our own ideas or projects, right?
Exactly. How do we spark the word-of-mouth magic without being too in your face about it? It's a really interesting question to think about. But here's the thing. It's not just about tactics and techniques, you know? The book makes a really important point.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's not just about playing hard to get. The real power of becoming an elusive object of desire, it's about cultivating genuine uniqueness and value. It has to come from a place of substance, not just image.
Okay, so it's about being truly remarkable, not just appearing to be. Tell me about this example from the book.
Okay, so they talk about Flannery O'Connor. Brilliant Southern writer, struggled with a really serious illness. But despite all that suffering, she poured everything into her writing. Like, every moment counted.
Wow, that's powerful. Sounds like she was driven by something much deeper than just wanting to be famous or recognized.
Exactly. It was her dedication to her purpose, that refusal to be limited by her circumstances. That's what made her work so compelling. It's a good reminder that true desire, it stems from something real, something authentic.
Okay, so we've got Coco Chanel with her mystique and strategic scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Flannery O'Connor with her incredible dedication to her craft, both incredibly desirable in totally different ways.
And both, in a way, embodying this principle of becoming elusive. It's not about manipulating people. It's about cultivating those qualities that draw people in. It's about becoming someone worth desiring.
Man, this is giving me so much to think about. So what does this all mean for us, in our everyday lives? How do we cultivate that same sense of purpose and uniqueness?
It's a great question. It all starts with understanding what really drives you. What are you passionate about? What do you want to offer the world?
Oh, I love that. This is getting deep. I like it.
It is personal, because becoming an elusive object of desire isn't about conforming to some external standard. It's about tapping into your own unique essence and letting that shine through.
I'm really digging this. It's so much more than just some surface level advice. I can already feel the wheels turning.
Awesome. That's what we like to hear. Welcome back. So, we've talked about the big ideas behind becoming an elusive object of desire, but how do we actually do it? Like, what are the practical steps?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
We've got all this inspiration, but I need an action plan. Where do we even begin?
Well, the book dives into what it calls the social arts, which sounds kind of fancy.
The social arts. I like it.
But it's really about honing those, subtle skills that help you navigate all the complexities of, well, human interaction.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me some more details. Like, what exactly does that involve?
It's about understanding those unspoken signals, like nonverbal communication, figuring out people's real intentions.
Oh, interesting.
Even mastering, the art of strategic flattery. It's all about connecting with people on a deeper level.
So it's not about being a lone wolf, like all mysterious and aloof.
No, not at all. It's more about being selective with your interactions. Strategic. The book actually uses this interesting analogy of a royal court.
Ooh, a royal court. I'm listening.
So imagine a court full of courtiers, right, all vying for the attention of the ruler. There's this constant, dance of power and influence, everyone trying to position themselves strategically.
Okay, I can see that.
It's a game of perception and social intelligence.
So we need to think of ourselves as courtiers. It sounds a little Machiavellian, to be honest.
Haha. Not necessarily. It's not about being manipulative or deceitful. It's more about understanding I guess you could say, the unwritten rules of the game. Every social setting has its own dynamics, and the more aware you are of those, the better you can navigate them.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get that. So if we are playing this court game, what are some of the key strategies we should be mastering?
Well, observation is huge, according to the book. It's about tuning into all those subtle cues people give off.
Like body language, tone of voice.
Exactly. Even those tiny micro expressions that flit across their face.
So it's like becoming a human lie detector.
Right.
Learning to read between the lines.
Yeah, it's about developing that heightened sense of awareness and then using it to your advantage.
Okay, but let's be real. Not all of us are like born Sherlock Holmes, right?
Right.
So how do we develop those observation superpowers?
It definitely takes practice. The book suggests starting small, pick one nonverbal cue and just focus on that. Like, pay attention to people's eye contact. Do they hold your gaze or do they look away? Notice their hand gestures. Are they open and expansive or more closed off? The more you observe, the more you'll pick up on those subtle signals.
Well, that's a good tip. It's like learning a new language. Once you start paying attention, you start to decode those nonverbal messages. Pretty cool.
It is, and the more fluent you become in that language, the better you'll understand people's true intentions. And that's a valuable skill in any situation, especially when it comes to, desire and attraction.
Okay, so observation, check. What about that strategic flattery you mentioned earlier? How does that fit into all this?
Yeah. So flattery, when done right, can be super powerful. It can build rapport, create influence, but the key is to be genuine and specific.
So not just showering people with empty compliments, it's about seeing their strengths and acknowledging them authentically.
Exactly. And here's the thing. The most effective flattery, it actually targets those qualities that people are a little unsure about.
That's interesting. So like if someone's insecure about their public speaking skills, a well-placed compliment about their presentation would have more impact than praising something they're already confident about.
Exactly. It validates their insecurities, makes them feel seen. There's even this great quote from Lord Chesterfield in the book. He said, "If you want to flatter someone effectively, praise them for something they wish they excelled at, but aren't quite sure they do."
Ooh, I like that. It's like you're tapping into those hidden desires for recognition and validation. So, okay, we've got observation, strategic flattery. Anything else the book recommends for, boosting our desirability?
There's this really interesting tactic they call mental judo.
Mental judo. Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me everything.
So it's about using people's resistance to your advantage. Instead of fighting their objections head on, you kind of subtly guide them towards your desired outcome.
So it's not about forcing your way through, but more about leading them to a conclusion without them even realizing it. That sounds sneaky. In a good way.
Exactly. Like, let's say someone's really resistant to an idea. Instead of arguing with them directly, you could ask a series of questions that gently nudge them towards seeing your perspective.
I like that. It's like planting seeds of doubt and letting them grow naturally.
It's much more subtle and effective than trying to, bulldoze through their resistance. And it plays into that whole elusive quality we're talking about. You're not forcing yourself on them, you're letting them come to their own conclusions.
This is making me realize how much of social interaction is about understanding those unspoken dynamics and using them strategically.
And that's the heart of becoming an elusive object of desire, right? It's about cultivating mystery, intrigue, desirability, but not through manipulation, through a genuine understanding of human psychology.
Okay, so we've got observation, strategic flattery, mental judo. What else should we be keeping in mind as we're, working on this whole elusive thing?
This might sound a little counterintuitive, but the book also talks about recognizing and, taming our own aggressive tendencies. Remember, becoming desirable isn't about dominating or controlling others. It's about attracting them.
Right, that's a really important point. But how do we even recognize those aggressive tendencies in ourselves? They're not always easy to spot.
It takes some honest self-reflection. The book suggests paying attention to how you react, like under stress or when you're frustrated. Do you lash out, become controlling, try to manipulate the situation? Those are all signs of aggression that can push people away, not draw them in.
Right, like that old saying, you attract more flies with honey than with vinegar. We want to be the honey.
Exactly. And we can't forget about passive aggression. It's more subtle, but it can be just as damaging.
Ugh, passive aggression, we've all dealt with that. But how do we spot it in ourselves and deal with it effectively?
Well, the book describes it as a way of, asserting control or expressing hostility, but indirectly. It's those subtle digs, guilt trips, those little manipulative tactics that people use to get what they want without being openly confrontational.
So it's like a covert operation.
Exactly. And the worst part is, it leaves the other person feeling confused, doubting themselves.
Yeah, like they're being gaslighted.
Exactly. So it's crucial to recognize those tactics and just refuse to engage. The best defense is to call it out directly, but calmly and assertively.
Okay, so being aware of our own aggression, both the overt kind and the passive-aggressive kind, and keeping it in check, that's a must. What else should we be mindful of on this journey to becoming more desirable?
The book also cautions against surrounding ourselves with the wrong kinds of people, especially those who are, chronically envious or constantly bringing drama into our lives.
Oh, the drama magnets and the green-eyed monsters. We all know those types.
It can be so draining.
They can really sap your energy and distract you from your goals.
It's all about being selective with who you let into your inner circle, right?
Right. Choosing those who uplift and support us, not those who bring us down.
Exactly. You want to create a positive and supportive environment where you can actually thrive. Becoming an elusive object of desire, it's not just about individual effort. It's about building a network that enhances your life and helps you reach your full potential.
So it's like assembling your dream team, people who complement your strengths and help you grow.
Exactly. It's a powerful concept. Success and desirability, they often come from collaboration and support, not just going it alone.
Okay, we've covered so much here. Observation, flattery, mental judo, taming our aggression, choosing our company wisely, anything else we can do to, cultivate this elusive quality.
The book really stresses the importance of understanding human nature. It's about seeing beyond those masks people wear and getting to those deeper motivations behind their behavior.
So we need to become amateur psychologists.
Not necessarily. It's less about overthinking and more about developing, a nuanced and empathetic understanding of people. Remember, becoming desirable isn't about manipulation. It's about genuine connection.
Right. It's about recognizing that we're all human with our flaws and insecurities and approaching those imperfections with, compassion and understanding.
Exactly. It's that ability to see beyond the surface, to connect on that deeper level. That's what makes you magnetic and desirable.
Makes sense. It's about being authentic and relatable,
hmm
not putting on a facade or trying to be someone you're not. Being genuine is so much more attractive.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important aspect of becoming elusive, understanding the power of presence and absence.
Oh, right. That takes us back to the beginning of our deep dive. The idea that the less available something is, the more we value it.
It's like this fundamental principle of human psychology, right? We crave what's scarce, what's unique, what we can't easily get.
So how do we create that sense of scarcity in our own lives? Do we need to, disappear for months at a time, become hermits?
Not exactly. It's not about being literally absent. It's more about cultivating intrigue, making your presence feel special and valued.
Oh, okay. So it's about quality over quantity, making each interaction, each appearance really count.
Exactly. Be selective with your time and energy. And when you do engage, be fully present and engaged.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Right. That's what.
It applies to all areas of life, not just romantic relationships. When you're not always available, it creates anticipation, desire.
Makes sense. So we've got presence and absence. Anything else we can do to cultivate that elusive aura?
Well, the book gets into the whole, dynamics of power and influence.
Yeah.
And it argues that true power, it often lies in subtlety, not force.
So it's not about dominating or controlling others, but influencing them in a more, nuanced and strategic way.
Exactly. The most effective leaders are those who can persuade and inspire others without resorting to, coercion or intimidation.
Yeah, it's about leading by example, earning respect and admiration through your actions, not by demanding it through your position.
Exactly. It's a key part of becoming an elusive object of desire. People are drawn to those who exude confidence and competence, but not in an arrogant or overbearing way.
So it's like finding that sweet spot between assertiveness and humility, being confident in your abilities, but not letting it turn into, arrogance.
It's a delicate balance for sure,
Yeah.
but it's super important to master if you want to cultivate that elusive quality that makes people want to follow you, be around you, be influenced by you.
Wow, this has been a lot. Understanding human nature, mastering those social arts, taming our aggression, choosing our companions wisely, being mindful of our presence and absence, understanding the dynamics of power.
It has been quite a journey.
It really has. But I think it's a journey worth taking. The more we understand about, the dynamics of desire, the better we can navigate relationships and create a more fulfilling, influential life.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, not just for your own sake, but for the benefit of those you choose to let into your life.
It's about creating a positive ripple effect, inspiring others
Yeah.
with our, authenticity and passion.
Exactly. And our unwavering commitment to our purpose.
Love that. But before we wrap up, I've got one more question. What about dealing with those who, might be envious of our success or our desirability? How do we navigate those tricky situations?
That's a great question. And it's something we're going to dive into in the final part of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
You definitely won't want to miss that.
Yeah.
We'll be exploring, the psychology of envy, how to recognize it, and most importantly, how to protect ourselves from its negative effects. See you in part 3. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. We're tackling Become an Elusive Object of Desire. It's been a journey, right? understanding what sparks desire, mastering those subtle social skills, even using mental judo. But now let's get real. Not everyone's going to love our newfound allure. There might be some, envy out there.
That's a great point. The more successful you become, the more visible, the more you're going to encounter envy. It's just human nature. So understanding how it works is crucial.
Envy, huh? We've all felt it, right? That pang of, I don't know, longing when someone has something we want. But how do we spot it in others? And how do we protect ourselves from it?
The book calls it a shadow emotion. It's something people try to hide, even from themselves.
So sneaky.
Right. It often disguises itself as resentment or indignation, or even those backhanded compliments that leave you feeling kind of weird.
Oh man, those backhanded compliments.
Mm.
The worst.
Yeah, it's like a chameleon, blends right in, making it hard to pinpoint, especially those subtle forms. But the book does have some tips for spotting the signs, like watch out for praise that feels off, compliments with a little negativity mixed in, or those that focus on your flaws instead of your strengths.
I think they're trying to dim your shine a little, undermine you subtly.
Exactly. They might say things like, oh, you must be making a fortune now, implying that your success is just about money, not your actual talent.
Right. Or like, you've certainly come a long way, subtly reminding you of where you started. Oh, this is so passive-aggressive, trying to knock you down without being direct.
Exactly. It's key to recognize those envious vibes and not let them get to you. Their envy, it's their problem, not a reflection on you.
Okay, so we need to be alert, watch for the signs. But how do we actually deal with envy once we've spotted it? Do we confront the person or just ignore them? What's the best approach?
The book recommends being strategic. Confrontation can backfire, make things worse. Instead, try creating some distance, physically, emotionally. Don't share things that might trigger their envy.
So protect our energy. Don't feed the beast.
Exactly. Envy thrives on attention. Deprive it of that, and it'll often just fade away.
Makes sense. Pick our battles. Don't waste energy on people who are determined to be negative. Is there anything else we could do to kind of shield ourselves from envy?
One of the best things you can do is cultivate a strong sense of self-worth.
Ooh, I like that.
When you're confident in your own value, other people's envy, it just doesn't have the same power over you.
It's like building up that inner resilience, like an invisible shield.
Exactly. When you know your worth, you don't need anyone else's validation. Their envy becomes irrelevant because you're not looking to them for approval.
That's such a great mindset shift. Focusing on our own journey, our own growth, not getting caught up in comparisons or negativity.
Totally. And remember, becoming an elusive object of desire isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing what makes you unique, letting your true self shine through.
Yeah, it's about authenticity, right? Owning our strengths and even our imperfections. Because those imperfections, they're part of what makes us unique.
Exactly. And that's what makes you irreplaceable, desirable. It's that unique blend of qualities that draws people in.
Wow, this has been such an incredible deep dive. We've learned so much about desire, how to cultivate that elusive quality, and even how to handle envy.
It's been a blast exploring all this with you. Remember, this journey is about becoming the best version of yourself, not just for you, but for everyone you choose to let into your life.
It's about inspiring others with, our genuine selves and our passions, being the honey, not the vinegar.
Well said. To wrap things up, I'll leave you with this. Don't just imitate others. Find your own unique path, your own blend of skills and experiences. Becoming truly irreplaceable, that's where real power and lasting desire come from.
That's awesome. It's not about fitting in, it's about blazing your own trail.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've learned a thing or two about becoming an elusive object of desire. Remember, embrace who you are and let your light shine. Until next time, keep on shining.
Thanks for listening. Did you enjoy what you heard? Want to buy this book? Please use the link in the description to support the channel.